Well, I'm about to get out of the hospital, and it was really nice because I had lovely visitors. Um, my ex husband came, and the food is disgusting. Sorry, I don't like hospital food. And there was this chicken there, and he was so kind. He cut up the little piece of chicken and made me eat some of it. I was so sick to my stomach and nauseous and dizzy that I couldn't eat, but he made me eat like 2 bites. That was enough. That protein jello was pretty good. I could get that down. They constantly had to give me this medicine because I was so nauseous. And at times, they'd given it to me and you have to wait a certain amount of time before you get the next dose. And I remember just thinking I was going to die waiting for that next dose. Nausea has been a very big part of my life, and it has not been pleasant. I'm talking extreme nausea. That's another story in itself, and you'll hear it. So Paula would come see me every day and take care of me. She was very strong. She is very strong. There was never, you're not going to make it, you're not going to this, you're not going to do that. She's just very positive, and I've known her for close to 40 years, and she's a very close friend of mine, and she's always been a rock for me. And you don't give up. She's also, I have a lot of strong people in my life. I have my father, I have my Paula, Mary, and my stepmother is pretty strong. And I have to tell you, my husband is extremely strong. And, so is my daughter. And I will say, so am I. But I have some very strong people in my life. So there was no way that I was going to get off just feeling sorry for myself. Although when I did at times, they were there. And sometimes they weren't, because no one can help you but yourself. You got to work through this yourself. That's how you learn to walk the walk. So I'm in the hospital, and my friend Mary came, and she goes from Hermosa Beach all the way to Glendale or New York, wherever she's traveling, all over the place for business. And she would find time at the end of the day, and it was a long day for her, and she would come and see me. She was very involved. She has a very big position in helping healthcare companies, like C-level management. She's incredible. So she was always there making sure these people were doing what they were supposed to do. And she was speaking a lot with my father, because my father, of course, was always there, and so was my mother. And they were there making sure, especially Mary and my dad were there making sure that everything was going exactly the way it should. But I remember she came and sat with me once, and she said, "What do you want?" So I thought, okay, butterscotch pudding. So she went down and got it for me, and then she ate some other kind. And truthfully, it wasn't that hot. But maybe it wasn't good because I was so sick. I don't know. But we ate that together, and just seeing her face gave me a lot of strength. And then I remember my husband would come and spend the night, and he would say, "What movie do you want to watch?" But I was so sick I didn't care. So it was nice just knowing that he was there next to me, and he stayed with me. And maybe I fell asleep because my brain couldn't handle a movie and the sound. And it wasn't loud. I couldn't do it. So I would sleep, but I would go to sleep and he was there. So I felt safe. My dad was always there, always calling me to make sure that I was okay. He's always been my tree of strength I could always lean on. And of course, my mother was there, fluttering over me, making sure that nobody could come in unless she said so, taking care of me as mothers do. She was very kind. She's my mom, so she will be. And then, of course, my daughter would come all the time. And my daughter's like the highlight of my life. So when she would come in, it was like a ray of sunshine. And she's such a sweet, tender little thing. And that was really nice. But what was really cool is the day came and I got to leave. And I had to leave in a wheelchair because I really couldn't walk at that point. They tried to make me by putting this strap around my waist and giving me a walker, but it wasn't pleasant. I was going to throw up. I hated it. So my husband picks me up and I'm going home. Thank God I didn't look in the mirror because my hair was like this big halo of a rat's nest. Horrifying. But at that point, you don't care because you're too sick. It's amazing when you're really sick what you don't care about. I'm telling you, I didn't look my best. Oh, it wasn't pretty. So he put me in the wheelchair and they took me and put me in the car. And then he drove me home. And I was really not feeling good, but I was also really glad to be going home because I had had enough. And we were going home and it was awful. I started throwing up because the car was moving and my brain can't handle that. And I was throwing up, and my husband was so kind. He just pulled over on the side of the road and let me throw up. And then he took this disgusting bag of stuff. And when I throw up, I still want to throw up because I have a horrible weak stomach. And I don't know what he did with it. He got rid of it. And I just sat there in the car and I didn't move because I was so scared. And then he got me home. Somehow he brought me in the house. And I remember being so happy to be home. And it's really amazing when you leave your house for a while because you're about to die. You walk into your house and you really appreciate what you have. You're really grateful. And we walked me over and I laid down on the couch and I just collapsed. And then later, my dad had organized a caregiver with Mary, someone that she knew. And my daughter gave up her room because she lives downstairs and we live upstairs. And I stayed in my daughter's room. And this caregiver was really wonderful. And of course, everybody was checking in on me and making sure I was okay. And then I think it was like 3 days later, it was back to the hospital. I just wasn't well enough, so I had to go back to the hospital. And then I came home. And then after that, from that visit, I went to my dad's house because he was so horrified by the experience. My stepmom said it was the worst day of his life when this happened to his daughter. And he insisted on bringing me to his house. He had appointments and business he had to do, and he canceled everything because he wouldn't leave my side. Brought me in another caregiver and these physical therapy people that I didn't want to do anything because I was too sick, but he stood over me, 6'2", he stood over me, and I knew I better do what I was told to do, but I hated it. And he took care of me. Unfortunately, I was still so sick that I got so dehydrated that when my dad took me to the doctor in Los Angeles, where I live, St. John's Hospital, to check up on me, I was so dehydrated because I was throwing up. I was sick. I couldn't move my head. It was horrible. And I kind of knew that I needed to go to the hospital before this, but I didn't want to go because my arms were black and blue with these needles. I was a human pincushion, and I didn't want to go back. So it probably served me right. I was too sick to go back. I didn't want to move. When you're so sick, you don't want to do anything. You're too sick. And I'm really good at convincing people I'm okay, including these nurses that would come see me at my dad's house. And let me tell you, my dad was really involved. He and Mary were on the phone for hours and hours and hours. My dad was on the phone hours and hours and hours with insurance companies. It's just unbelievable what these people have done for me. And I'm so grateful. I'm very grateful. And so my dad takes me to the hospital. And of course, my husband and my daughter are there. And the doctor sees me. And all of a sudden, I just start crying because I'm so sick. And he looks at me, and I was so dehydrated that he wouldn't let me go home. He put me into the emergency room, and here I am in the hospital again for another week. Really dehydrated. But actually, I was glad to be there because I was just so sick. And it's really amazing because I'm the most shy person you'll ever meet. But eventually I got to take a shower and the nurse had to help me. And I can't believe, I was embarrassed because I'm a very shy person. Believe it or not, I'm a very shy person. But I think the only person that really knows that is my daughter. And now you. But she had to help me take a shower. It was embarrassing. And I remember when I first was in the ICU, I finally got to go out and use the ladies' room, but they had to put this chair thing right by the bed because I couldn't get out of bed to go to the ladies' room, but she could help me. And I had to sit in this potty chair thing right next to my bed, and she stood there watching me. I was horrified, but there was nothing I could do. It was pretty amazing. So I had to learn about vanity. And yes, I was really sick, so a lot of times I didn't care, but I did care a little bit. And there were times where I was probably cared more than some people. But it was a lesson in vanity. We're all created equal. The nurses have seen this over and over again, and I'm no different than anybody else, right? Another lesson that I've learned. We're all created equal. So then I went home, and to home, LA, and my husband was really happy that I was home. And it was really nice because he really took care of me. And he has a very good friend named Teresa, who is one of my favorite people. And once they knew this happened to me, they knew that I wasn't going to be able to go back to my office on Abbott Kinney. Plus, they were trying to sell the building. So Teresa came and helped my husband, moved my office. And let me tell you, there was a lot of moving to do. The two of them did it all by themselves, and she drives an hour just to get here and help him move my office. And since then, I practice that on my home, and my clients actually love it because I'm too sick to go. I was too sick to go to an office. And to be honest with you now, as much as I practice and I love it, I probably wouldn't want to go to an office. That might be tough. And then after that, I ended up going to the hospital again, but I'll tell you about that in my next video. And that was a really big spiritual lesson. So the takeaway from this video is that we are created equal, and we can be completely humiliated and hate the way we look and have to do things that to me were horrifying and embarrassing. But you just really have to learn real fast that it can happen to anybody. And we really are all created equal, and we don't have to be so embarrassed. It's life.